I thought we'd go through today a complete inspection of a commercial property, specifically a commercial kitchen and commercial restaurant. This is going to be a lot of fun. All of our inspections are all performed by using the ComSop, but every inspector is going to find a different way to move around a building. I thought we'd walk around the exterior of this building first before we go to the interior of the building. If that's okay with you guys, let's get started. When we're looking at the commercial property, it's very important to look at everything. And if we're looking at the outside of the property, I always look at the parking lots. Does the parking lot properly drain? Where is it draining to? This is a concrete parking lot. It is completely concrete with islands and landscaping and lighting, and so we need to do all of these elements as part of our inspection. The drainage on this particular property is all heading away from this building, which is critical. When we look at our lighting is straight and plumb. It's also, the landscaping looks good. And so beyond that, let's focus on this building. When we look at this building, we're going to walk around the building. We're going to look at our synthetic stucco. We're going to look at our masonry. We're going to look and see and make sure everything on our sidewalks is sloping nicely away from the building, which it is. We have a spot here for a hose hydrant. We have a roof drain. And then we have our windows. In previous windows, we've talked about these in previous videos, We've talked about this fenestration strip. We want to make sure that's in good shape. We've looked at all of that, and then we continue around the building. Let's continue walking around the exterior of this building. We have building lighting. We need to make sure that that building lighting is solid, is not open electric. This is LED lighting here. We have some more service lighting. We have an exterior door. We try to open this door, it's locked. We try to open the door, make sure the door swings open, make sure it's at least 32 inches wide. There's lighting above it, there's lighting on the side of it. And then we'd migrate through the rest of the exterior of this building. I apologize if you got any wind, it's a windy day here in Colorado. Again, look at the glass, look at our fenestration, look at our masonry, more lighting. In some cases, we're going to want to, in most cases, you're going to want to turn the lighting on at the electric box or have the building management turn the lighting on. We haven't been inside the building yet, so we haven't had a chance to get that done. So I would continue walking through all of this, check our overhangs, check our exit door. Then the rest of the exterior inspection is looking at the landscaping, our brick, our building, all of the rock, our concrete. We have a service exit door here. I want to make sure this door again opens outward, it's locked. We'll continue with our masonry, looking at our windows, and we'll continue around the rest of the building. Windows are such a common spot to have issues. This has got such a great overhang. Any issues that we have are probably not going to do too much damage to the building, but I really try to pay attention to these corners. Here's another building drain. I've got a sprinkler room here. This is most likely going to be where our main water valve is, as well as our backflow prevention valve, unless we find it in another spot. But this is a sprinkler valve here. This door is locked. We've got a sprinkler connector here. This is for the fire department. When they pull up, they can hook to the fire hydrant, move that right into the building, add additional water. Another exit door with a light. We've got a lock box here for employees. It's on a combo, so I know it's not a Knox box that they use for the fire department. Here's our main electric. We want to make sure this is in good shape. I would take photos of all of this. Our meter and our gas valve. And with the gas valve, this is an industrial sized gas valve. And so as we have the gas valve, from any previous videos that we've done, this is our meter. This is our pressure regulator. This is our supply pipe. We do have a main disconnect here. It comes up, goes into the building, and there's another disconnect here. So this is all something that we should look at, making a smell test to make sure we don't have any gas leaks. And then we'll continue around the rest of the building. One of the interesting things that I see this white here, this efflorescence. And this efflorescence is telling me that I've got some moisture in our masonry. That could be topical, it could be just about anything, but we do want to make note of the efflorescence. This is the spot where the roof is draining as well, and that could be some of the issue, but we do want to make note on our report about the efflorescence. Let's see if there's anything else on the other side of this building we need to talk about. We've got a bunch of pergolas here. The pergolas are weatherproof pergolas. They look like they're aluminum or steel. We've got a lot more efflorescence on these landscape walls. There's really nothing structural with these walls. They're just landscape walls, but nonetheless, it is efflorescence. It does require some maintenance to clean and prepare the rocks to make sure that they don't grow any more efflorescence. And then we have all this structure that's here. I do have an outside fireplace. I would take a picture of it on my report and note the fact that it is inaccessible. I'm not going to move all those tables to get to that outside fireplace, but I am going to note that. And then we'll pass through the rest of the building. I'm looking at our awnings, I'm looking at our synthetic stucco, I'm looking at the rest of our masonry. We do have to have the conversation, is this masonry solid masonry or is it veneer? We did note the weep holes as we walked around the building. This is a veneer masonry. We want to take a look at all of these, our overhang, and see what else we can look at before we go up onto the roof. Looks like a very well-maintained building with the exception of a little bit of efflorescence. Everything looks in pretty good shape. So let's go take a look at the roof and see what components are up there for us to take a look at. The roof on this building is a TPO roof. And with a TPO roof, it's a very good roof for a restaurant because it's very easy to clean and the grease and the contaminants from the cooking can't degrade it. So it's a great roof. This is a partition wall. Some people call it a penthouse wall. This is to block the view from the street of any of the stuff that's going on behind it. Things like furnaces, package units, makeup area, exhaust are all located behind that. As we go through our roof inspection, we want to make sure it's draining. I have roof drains across this whole side here. And then in addition to the roof drains, we've got side scuppers. And the side scuppers are, if the drains don't work, we can still evacuate out the sides of the walls. So it's very important on these drains that they're kept clear. So as we go through here, we're going to want to inspect that. My inspections, I do everything at the same time. I don't compartmentalize my inspections. So as I'm walking through here, I'm going to look at these 4 compressors. And these are the compressors that are most likely for our refrigeration systems. They're not for air conditioning. And on these, what's interesting is this first unit doesn't have any plumbing to it, doesn't have any electric to it. So my guess would be that's our extra one. That's our unit for in case one of them is broken, that we can very quickly change it out. They do that a lot on commercial buildings. We call it an N+1 situation. And why we do that is if the appliance is here, then our downtime is much less. So that's what we have here. And so I'll continue to walk this way. I'm going to take a look at the roof, and then it doesn't look like I can go any further around. We'll have to go around the other side of this penthouse wall. But I want to take a look at the roof over here. As I'm doing the rest of the roof, I'm looking at our parapet wall. I'm looking at our coping. It's very important on the coping. Our coping's our flat line of defense. We want to make sure this is well sealed. We don't have any openings. We don't have any water sitting on top of it. I'm not really a big fan of the fact that I see open gaps at each of the lap joints. I'd probably recommend a little bit of sealant on those. But that's what I'm going to look at as I go through the roof. Let's go look at the other side of this wall and look at some of the mechanical units that we get to have on this commercial building. Most commercial buildings have packaged heating units. You will find some that don't, but most of them have some form of packaged heating unit. That's what this does. This particular building has got 4 heating units. And what's nice is they're all labeled. In other videos that we've done, we've kind of showed how to inspect these, but doing this inspection, I think we should do it again. The big thing on the package unit, all these units should have a receptacle, typically within some convenience point, about 25 foot. So if the other RTU unit does not have one, but this one does, and they're within 25 foot, I don't usually make any conversation about it. I take all of my field notes through my phone. So I would take some pictures, 4 pictures of this unit on all 4 sides, and I'd walk around it. This is on this side of the unit, this is where our air conditioning side is on a packaged unit. On the opposite side is where our heating system is. And so on this, I want to look at the fins. In this particular case, I've got a really nice steel shroud that protects this unit from hail. I've got a fresh air intake on this side. With the fresh air intake, air is being drawn in. On the bottom of this, I do have a secondary intake, and the air is being drawn in, and then that's what supplements the cold air return side. All packaged units need to have and must have a condensate trap. That's the trap that's on the condensate pipe as the water is evacuating the system during the air conditioning time. On this particular unit, our condensate trap is located down here on the side of the unit. Without the trap, fresh air is going to be drawn back in, and that fresh air will contaminate any air that's basically in our duct system. So we look for that. I'll always take a picture of the label plate. The label plate tells me everything that I need to know about this unit. It'll tell me the year it was built. This is a 2015. It'll tell me the size of the unit. So it's 115,000 BTUs. As far as the heating goes, as far as my cooling goes, then I would use the RLA number that's present on it and do my calculation for that. I also know that it's a 208 system, so it's a 3-phase system. That tells me that it's probably got a crankcase heater, which means it's a unit that I can test the air conditioning any time of the year. That's what these have such a benefit for. I look at my gas pipes, I look at the general appearance of it, and I operate it. But package units are certainly something that we're going to want to do on our inspection, especially on a commercial kitchen inspection or restaurant inspection like this. But beyond that, I'm going to look at my roof, look at everything else, and then let's go take a look at some of the other unique items that are here on our roof. Also on this roof, like I say, I got 4 heating units. I've got that one, this one, and one other. I do the exact same process on a small unit as I would do on a larger unit. 4 pictures at least on the outside, all 4 corners. Look at the fresh air intake, look at the electric, make sure I got a receptacle, make sure I have illumination. We're outside, so I don't worry about illumination. I look at the cabinet, I check for my condensate pipe, I take a picture of the label, note my size. Then beyond that, I got some other unique things that can come about. One of the more unique things I have on this is, because this is a commercial kitchen, I have to have a makeup air system. In order for an exhaust system to properly evacuate the air and the contaminated air, the grease buildup air, the moisture buildup air that's in a commercial kitchen, we need to supply air into the space. Without a makeup air system, without some form of system bringing air into the kitchen, we create a vacuum. We wouldn't be able to open a door, we wouldn't be able to move around, we create an unhealthy environment. So this makeup air plant, this makeup air system is drawing air in this way. It goes across this array of filtering. And so in this particular case, I'm missing a filter right here. So of the 10 filters that should be here, I've got 9. So I'm going to make a note on my report that I'm missing a filter. But the air is brought in through here. On makeup air systems, depending on the restaurant, you might have a heating system built onto it as well. So we got to double check to make sure we have that. We are here in Colorado. We do need to add some supplemental heat to this makeup air. And yes, we do have one. So with the makeup air, I've always, when I inspect a makeup air system, they're built in 3 compartments. Our first compartment is historically the filter. Our second compartment will be the heating. And the third compartment is the blower, sucking air and blowing air down into the commercial kitchen. So on these, it's beyond the ComSop to open them up, but I will take a look at the general impression of it. Some of these are fairly easy to open up. This is an operation. I'm not going to open it up because I don't want to create the vacuum, nor do I want to shut the unit down. But I am going to take a look to make sure I got clearances. I shouldn't have anything within 10 foot of the intake of this. Not a plumbing stack, not a combustible, and not a flue vent for one of the heaters. So we'll take a look at that. I'm going to look at our gas pipe. I'm going to look at any electrical connections we might have, any condensate that we might have, and the general overall appearance of the makeup air. And that's really all I'm going to do when I'm inspecting this type of system. Again, being organic, I probably do the 3 HVAC units. I might do this HVAC unit next, then I'll do this, but it's all the same process. I'm taking pictures and I'm noting everything for my report so my clients can purchase this, build it intelligently. I think from there, we're going to go around. Let's look at the exhaust plants that are here. Depending on the type of kitchen that we have and the type of exhaust that we need, we have a couple different types of systems that will be present. This particular exhaust is called an upblast exhaust. And an upblast exhaust is drawing up air through a duct system. With an upblast exhaust, I typically have the capacity to tilt them open, look inside, and look at our ductwork. I'm looking for cleanliness. I'm looking for anything that's out of the extraordinary. It should be a straight shot, not a lot of bends, and it should be pretty well sealed. I'm going to look for the electric. With an upblast, any ductwork that we have and any change in ductwork's angle, it needs to have an access panel for cleaning. This is a straight down shot. So this upblast here, this is most likely for a hood. And then another upblast we have on the other side is most likely for the restrooms. We'll take a look at that. But the other type of fan that we have is this one. This is a utility set fan. This is a very large drum fan. And this huge fan is drawing out a tremendous amount of airflow. This is probably the exhaust that we have that's going over the top of our hood system. We'll take a look at that when we get inside. And so this goes up. This is an access panel here. It's not labeled, but this is an access panel here. I have another access panel on the top here. And we'll see if there's another one on the other side. But as I inspect any of these appliances, whether it's an HVAC system or an exhaust system, your ears are just as important as any other set of tools that you have. So I'm listening for unusual sounds, vibrations, etc. These all sound great. There's really no unusual sounds. I think these are just remarkably in remarkable condition. So let's look at the other side of this unit. Here's the other side of the drum. Here's where our motor is. Oh, another access panel. That's excellent. And then here's our other exhaust. My guess is this exhaust is for the restrooms. It's a little smaller than the other one, but nonetheless present. This one, when I touch it, is running. I am not going to slide this over to inspect the inside of it. The other one was, so then I was not running, so that's why I was able to move it. So the whole key is be safe. Walk the roof safe, inspect these systems safe, take pictures of it, and note these things for your client. Anything unusual should be noted. I think let's go inside and let's go take a look at the inside of this building. Now it's the interior until we get down into the kitchen space. With the interior inspection, again, we're just going to walk through in the normal pace, and the normal expectations like you'd think of with any interior. Looking at hand railings. With stairs, there should be a graspable hand railing on both sides. We can't have anything of a rise more than 12 foot in a single flight of stairs. In this particular case, we've created what we call is a U-stair. It goes down, a landing, then down. So we're horseshoeing back. You'll notice that we go down. The landing has to be at least the same width as the stairs or larger. There can't be anything stored in the landing area. And so as I go down these stairs, I'm going to be checking the hand railing. I'm going to make sure it's graspable, make sure it's continuous. There cannot be any breaks in the hand railing. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to see you guys down on the next floor. So again, a nice break, great landing. These stairs are steel. They're steel with concrete as the treads. They were originally designed to be an open riser, but you see how they've closed those up for safety. I've got a nice balustrade here. Really, really an excellent set of stairs. I've got a return here that extends out properly away from the bottom step. That's what we want to have. And so this is really a well-built set of stairs. Now on the first floor, we're just going to go around the building, test everything we have. And so I think I'm going to start over on this side and kind of make a beautiful clockwise walk through here. Why don't you come on with me? We're in the mechanical room, just like anything else. And how we know it's a mechanical room? It says it, mechanical room. When we're in the mechanical room, there'll be a lot of systems in here. One is our electric system. With the electric, there's nothing in the ComSop that says we have to remove this panel. So we want to make sure we're nice and safe. We open it up, make sure that all the breakers are in place, all the knockouts are in place. We want to note which panel it is, what we have. So in this particular case, I'm in panel H, 208, 120, 3-phase, 4-wire. You can note the brand if you want to, which is Eaton. We have two different things we have to worry about. See if you remember. One is working space. Working space is the space that I need to be in, and the other is dedicated space, and that is the space that has to be just the electric. And so in this particular case, my dedicated space has to be at least 6 foot above this. I've got a drywalled ceiling. That's where I stop. That's my firewall. So all of this is electric. My working space for me is 30 inches, 36 inches, 78 inches. I'm in awesome shape, so I'm great with this electric here. I've got more electric here, still in the same family. And I come over here, this is part of our security system. That's something I don't open and we don't need to deal with. And then comes plumbing. So there's no plumbing above us here. There's no plumbing anywhere in this area. So our dedicated space rule is achieved. Our working space is great. But what I would write up, and I would write up every time, is there's a bar stool sitting in here. Having a bar stool in here breaks the mechanical room rule. We can't have storage here. So this AV cabinet can't be in here. This rack can, it's permanently mounted, but this chair can't be in here. We can't have something stored in this mechanical room. I've got 2 water heaters in here. These are most likely for any of the domestic water that we have going through this building. They're in here. They're installed with the pump system to drive the water much quicker through here. When we deal with these water heaters, because they're a larger system, they do have inspection tags. And the last time they were inspected, both these were inspected in July of 22. They both have temperature pressure relief valves. They're both high efficiency gas. I would check for any gas leaks with my nose, and then I would look at any of these systems to see if I have any active leakage. Right now, these are operating at 140 degrees, and so they both look in operation. I will test the water flow as we go through the rest of the building. But it's really important that you do note the water heaters. You want to document them. You want to get the age. That all that comes off of our label plates that are located there. But beyond that, I would just want to make sure that I have all of that noted on my report as what I saw. Let's go take a look at the restrooms. Restrooms have a lot of different systems present. We've got sinks, and we've got toilets and commodes, and we've got stanchions and various wall systems. So really the key is you should go through here and just make sure everybody works. These have automatics. This automatic's not working. I would want to take a picture of that and note that. I would want to make sure I've got hot and cold water, and so I would let that run long enough that I got hot water coming out of it. Check my drains. Go over to my toilets. Our ComSop says we have to flush a representative sample of the toilets. But we should identify all toilets for damage. So I would look. Either the auto flushes are working on these. I would check my walls, make sure they're tight. These walls are expensive, and so double checking that is important. I would want to make sure I look at all my commodes, make sure they're solid to the floor, free of cracks, free of leaks, free of damage. We do have to note for the damage, but we don't have to flush every other one. Here's an accessible toilet in here, a little wider space. Make sure it's solid. My motion's not working on this one. So this is a vacant building. And it's very often that the battery packs on these have expired. But nonetheless, I do want to note that, because if I wasn't able to flush 50% of the toilets, then I think that's something we need to note. Look at the walls, make sure the floors are a type that can be easily cleaned. I have all that. Look at the walls, make sure the walls are a type that can be easily cleaned. In these particular cases, we do have situations where if the walls are able to have bacteria growth or not easily cleaned, is something that we do need to note on the report. Then the last thing I always note for is there a floor drain somewhere in this restroom? Let's take a look and see if we can find that. Yes, we have a floor drain, and the floor drain is important. If we have any overflow or any blockage or any catastrophe in this bathroom, we need to be able to not have it flood the entire space. And secondly, there are instances where you want to wash these very thoroughly, and having a drain to be able to squeegee the water to is important. We would do the exact same thing in the other restroom that's present, and so we'll do that, and then we'll go through the rest of the building. While cycling through the entire building, you do need to hit all of the elements and all of the spaces. I'm not going to operate the automatic door, or the automatic divider for the room, but what I do need to do is we do need to make sure that, again, we're checking a sampling of the outlets to make sure they're operational. These particular outlets are a watertight outlet. They're designed so that if I scrub with a carpet scrubber this floor, I don't get water inside. So we want to test for those. You do want to make sure that you move drapery. A lot of times behind drapery is something fun, like a giant water stain. And so I always want to move my drapery to look for those obscured items. This is not really going into anything other than trying to find those latent defects that can really be important. Here's an exit door. We do have an exit sign. On these particular exit signs, they're a combination exit sign and emergency lighting. So we have the exit sign that's illuminated, and then we have the emergency lighting that's next to it. Those should be present in the entire space to illuminate our means of exit from this building and from this room. So you'll see all of the doors that exit out of here are properly labeled. But again, I'm just going to take a look for any of this latent damage that might be present. And this looks great. Then I'd come over and go out to our hallway and see what we have. And so we'd check that door and we'd head down the hallway as we exit these spaces. And so let's take and do that. This is a slab constructed building. With a slab constructed building, it is not unusual to have some form of cracking. Here's a crack that's developed. This is probably a crack that doesn't have any structural significance to the building as much as it's a crack that has just appeared. It could be mitigated, but I'll tell you, when I rub my foot on it, it's not catching my foot, so it's not a trip hazard, it's not displaced, and so that's something we want to take a look at nonetheless. When we look at the roof, remember we had 4 heating units. And so as you go through, you're going to want to find your 4 thermostats. When you find your 4 thermostats, I think you're going to find areas that if the if there's a room that they're not using, they might need to add some supplemental heat because the thermostat might not be controlling well. And so located here on this wall, I do have a supplemental heat source. That supplemental heat source is more of a vestibule heat because we're here in the middle of this space, and we want that just to keep these walls and these doors from freezing in very cold, inclement weather. So again, we'll walk through checking our outlets. I get asked this question all the time, oh, what about this open electric? Well, that electric is very specific. That's low voltage electric. That could be for a camera system. That could be for anything. That's electric that I'm not going to really comment on because it is not part of the high voltage electric system. But what I would comment on is something that is a high voltage electric that is a dangerous situation. I have another supplemental heater here. And that again is because of this vestibule area as we come through here. Now this is a great sign here. This door must remain open and unlocked during business hours. This is part of our exit corridor. And this is allowing us to evacuate from this space. If you recall, we have an exit sign here. I come out to here. And when I'm standing right here, I don't have any exit light. I don't have any emergency light. There's nothing here to illuminate and let me know how to get out. There really should be, if you think about it, there really should be an exit light right here pointing this way, but there's not. I do have an exit light above this door, but if I was standing there, I got out in that hallway, I'm caught. The reason they have that sign there is you'd always need to have a path to exit. So let's think. What if there's a fire right here? Right here. That exit door's blocked. I left that exit there. How do I get out? Well, the reason they have that sign that says this door must remain unlocked during business hours is that allows me to go through this portal, this door, to that next exit sign. And you'll see that next exit sign is there, and I'm going out. They have to have that because that's how this building was segregated out. In this particular half of the building, this is a banquet hall, this is a meeting space, this is a wide open space. They share the same restrooms. And you do not want to have somebody caught in this restroom space. So again, I've got an exit sign here. I can head out through the restaurant. I got an exit sign above the door we just walked through, and that exits me out there. But if I had a fire, that's why these doors have to allow me out of the restroom or out of the space. So we'll continue past this, and we'll continue with our restaurant inspection. So we'll walk through, and I would do the entire bar area, but I want to do the back of the bar because this is kind of fun back here. We've got a lot of different systems, and with these systems, is going to be our first introduction to the idea of indirect plumbing, specifically indirect plumbing of the drain system. All of these sinks that we have behind a bar. This particular bar sink is called a 4-sink. This is for dumping. So I would dump my glass into here. So this is just a drain sink. My limes, my condiments, my garnishes would get dumped there. This is a rinse. This is a wash. This is for sanitize. This is for drying. And all commercial sinks have to be set up that way. And the reason why we have that is our water doesn't get hot enough to sterilize and properly wash dishes. And by having that basin, our rinse, our wash, and our sanitize means I can have water that's less than 180 degrees. And the sanitizer does all that work. This is our ice station here. This is our soda gun here. All outlets should be GFCI protected. And so that's what's located right here. So I'm going to pop and check those as we go through here. And when I talked about an indirect drain, what an indirect drain is all the drains that come out of any bathroom, all the drains that come out of any sink anywhere in a commercial kitchen have to not be connected to the plumbing. They go into a basin like this, and then that allows any solids and any material to be able to be cleaned out. And so that's called an indirect drain. We have another ice station here, and then we have a hand washing sink. Hand washing sinks are located throughout all commercial kitchens and bar areas, and the reason is we need to be able to have cleanliness. And so anytime theoretically you've touched money, anytime you've touched anything, so we want to make sure I've got cold water on the right side, I've got hot water on the left side, and I verify that. Now, a sink for a hand washing station can be installed with a direct or indirect drain system. In this particular case, we're running an indirect. I think we're going to find a direct as we go through here. But hand washing stations can be either direct or indirect, but all other plumbing in a commercial kitchen is indirect. This is a glass dishwasher or a dishwasher that's in a bar area. You'd have your glass rack sitting here. You'd place all your glasses, you slide this in, shut it up, hit start. And this would magically clean your dishes if you're using your dishwasher station. What's nice with this is this does have a built-in water heater that heats up that water beyond 180 degrees. So then that way it sterilizes and steams anything that you place in here, and you end up with a good, clean environment. You move through, you test outlets, you're looking at lighting, and then you move through, and I want to stop right here and talk about the sprinkler system. Here's the sprinkler system as we go through here. There's a bunch of different types of sprinkler systems out there. This is a standard this is a standard wet system. Inside of this system, there's always water in that black pipe. And there's a small tube of liquid that is held behind the plunger and the spring. And when that tube of liquid, depending on the color, melts at a specific temperature. This red color, I believe, melts at 150 degrees. And at 150 degrees, at this space right here, that melts, and that releases the spring, and water will flood this area. No other spot of the sprinkler system will activate water, but right here. So we limit our damage, we put our fire out that's right here, and the building is safe and well protected. So that's part of our sprinkler system. Every color of liquid melts at a different temperature based on what type of system we have. But this particular system is a wet system, and that is our sprinkler head. We have the same bar area that's over here in the restaurant as well, and we go through this entire system. Again, checking outlets, which I'm going to check here. Checking plumbing, which is here. This is kind of a service bar area for the side of the restaurant. I've got another ice station here. I've got a drink well here, another ice station here, and it comes over to another hand washing sink that's here. And we just want to walk through and check everything as we move through here. We've walked around the entire interior of this restaurant and the banquet hall. And we did all the same practices and all the same methods that you would anticipate in any interior inspection. We've operated the HVAC, we've looked at the electric, we've operated the plumbing, we've identified all those situations. Now it's the spot where you're really excited. Let's go take a look at the commercial kitchen. One of the first and kind of key elements of a commercial kitchen inspection is defining the space. So as I'm defining the space, I just walked into the commercial kitchen. Where I was just standing before, I was still on the restaurant side. Now I'm in the commercial kitchen side. what you'll immediately be addressing is a change in the floor, a change in the wall, a change in the ceiling. The floor has to be anti-slip, needs to be cleanable, washable. So you'll typically find a tiled floor or an epoxied floor or some material floor that is suitable for this environment. You're going to take a look at the floor, make sure I don't have any pitting, any staining, any grease laying around, and any damage. So we do certainly have areas that are more worn than others. I'm going to note that on my report. Our walls are cleanable. Our walls can't be drywall. As much as there's fireproof drywall out there, that's not what our major concern is. Our major concern is it cleanable? Is there mold, etc. And so that's what we're looking for. Specifically, these fiberglass reinforced panels. These FRP panels. That's what all these are. And so we want to have that. And then our ceilings. Our ceilings are non-acoustical tiles. These are washable tiles. They typically have a plastic coating on them or a coating on them that makes them washable. I've seen them black. I've seen them white. The brighter you can make a kitchen, the better. So our illumination has to be really good. And so you'll see that we have some static illumination that's up in the grid work. And so we'll see that interspersed around the entire kitchen. And then we'll also see some lighting that's up in the hood system. Hood systems are very important to inspect is because we have to have what's called a type 1 hood, or a hood that's suitable for grease latent appliances or generating appliances. Has to be a type 1 hood. This hood has got some very specific requirements. First, it must have interior welds. The welds must be liquid tight. Second, it needs to have baffles. Baffles are our filter system. The baffles need to be in an array where they allow grease to be draining down from them. That grease goes to a grease tray. From the grease tray, it goes to a grease cup. The grease cups need to be removable so that they're easily cleaned. And so when we look at a commercial kitchen, I want to note my hood. Hoods are always stainless steel. Interior welds. They could be other steel too, I should say, but they're typically stainless steel. And then there's usually a label on them. And the label will indicate the last time it was cleaned and the next time it needs to be cleaned. Depending on the use of the kitchen, how heavy a use, what type of kitchen it is how frequently it needs to be cleaned. That can range anywhere from quarterly to semi-annually to annually. And so we have that. Up on the roof, we noticed that it had a makeup air system. That makeup air is what's being drawn into the room, and the exhaust system is being drawn out. So if you look at this kitchen, this is a very large kitchen. I have 4 sets or 4 chambers of hood present in here. So that utility set fan that we had on the roof is what occupies all 4 of these. That's why it was so large. That's why it was such a large unit. So when I look at this kitchen, I'm going to look underneath, look for cleanliness, look for any grease buildup, make sure my baffles are all draining. If these baffles were turned 90 degrees, then that would actually capture and hold the grease where we want that to drip down. And when it drips down, it's going to drip into this little cup that we have, and I can take that cup off and clean that very quickly. I want to make sure that all of my appliances that I cook with are under the hood footprint. I can't have an appliance half under and half in. And so in this case, I'm under the entire footprint. Every appliance must have a suppression nozzle attached to it. And so this is a suppression nozzle that's going to handle here. Here's the suppression nozzle that's going to handle here. Here's the suppression nozzle that's going to handle here, and here, and here. So all of our nozzles are intact. We also need to have lighting. We need to be able to cook. There needs to be enough illumination. The lighting that's under the hood has to be a blast-proof light. That's what we have here, vapor and blast-proof lighting. It's a normal incandescent bulb, but the fixture is vapor blast proof. So we want to double check all of that. And so we would walk the entire hood system looking for that, as well as I always try to look behind all the appliances, because all the appliances, which are these are all gas, all should be installed with a whip. That whip allows us to pull out the appliances for cleaning. It allows us to get behind and get underneath. That's why these appliances are either on wheels or on pedestals, and that allows us to easily clean them out. Throughout this entire kitchen, there's also drains, just like in the indirect drains that we had. So we want to watch for that. Again, we have a hood. Now, this appliance is underneath the hood. It does have nozzles. These two appliances don't. If you notice, these appliances are also unplugged. So it's very possible that everything from here this way is not in use. This could be just appliances here for storage, but nonetheless, they are under the hood. So I might make a comment on my report, which I know I will make a comment, that not all of the hood is protected by the nozzle system. So everything this way, there should be nozzles here. I will say this though, we do have a rough end and a spot right here where a nozzle could easily be attached when I activate this quadrant of the hood system. So I would walk through this. Again, I'm checking my baffles. I don't want to have a missing baffle. I don't want to have a strayed baffle. I want to make sure they're all there and they're all in place, which they are. If you walk into a commercial kitchen and the system's not in use, then consider turning it on. There's nothing that says in the CommStop you have to, but that's the only way you're going to test the system. If you're walking into a commercial kitchen that's in use, then the system's probably always on. Typically, they fire this system on up as second they walk into the kitchen, the employees. But in this particular case, it's on, but you can turn it on. The turn on for most of these is typically just a switch on the wall, or some type of activation. In this particular unit, it's a fairly large, sophisticated system, so it's all operated by this computer that's here. When we're talking about safety in a kitchen, and I talked about the nozzles, there needs to be two parts that are on the CommStop that have to be checked. One, we have to inspect the nozzles and their presence there. The other is this is called a manual actuator. What a manual actuator is this is the thing I pull as I'm evacuating out of the commercial kitchen. What if there's a fire? This is my exit door. This exits me straight out onto the street. Within 10 to 20 feet of all cooking appliances, in the exit path or egress path, there has to be this manual actuator. This manual actuator needs to be between 42 and 48 inches from the ground. And so we want to verify the presence of that. Secondly, on the CommStop, we have to verify the presence of a fire extinguisher. This fire extinguisher should be a Type K fire extinguisher, and it needs to be within 30 foot of all cooking appliances. This is an ABC fire extinguisher. This is just a normal fire extinguisher, and that should be located within 75 foot traffic of any spot in the building. So there'll be several of these, but this one's very specifically is our Type K unit, and it has to be in a kitchen space within 30 foot of all cooking appliances. Then we'd walk through the rest of the kitchen, checking drains, checking faucets. Hot and cold need to be verified. Let's go check those out now. With the sinks again, I'm going to operate the cold. Make sure I got cold. I'll operate the hot. This is a utility sink here. I've got a hand washing sink here. Cold water. A little bit of leak here. Certainly want to note that. The hot water here. Where this sink is an indirect drain, this sink is a direct drain. You'll see the difference. Where this is going into the bell drain on the bottom, and this is going in directly into the wall there. So we want to verify that on all sinks. Definitely want to take note of this leak that's here. far as our electric inspection, we're going to check to make sure there's GFIs. The one interesting thing in the commercial kitchen, we can never have surge suppressors or 6-prong outlet strips. Never strips. Everything is a direct cord to a direct receptacle. We also have some other receptacles that come down from the ceiling, and those should all be reinforced receptacles, stuff that is shielded and protected and can't be pulled loose, because we'll have a lot of things, no cords on the ground. It comes either from the ceiling or from the wall. A cord from the ceiling will look like these. These all have reinforcement to them. These all have connections that allow us to not have to have them pull loose, because you'd be surprised what you could have on those. And so we just want to just double check. Yep, got great power, and move through the normal electric inspection like you'd have on any other space. Then when we move past the kitchen, we got to think about refrigeration. Now, refrigeration is beyond the CompSop. We don't have to test for temperature. We don't have to test for anything. But, you know, it's important to take a look at. Our clients have hired us to do the complete inspection of the building. So I think the walk-in refrigerator is certainly part of that. That's what this is here. So when you do the walk-in refrigerator, I'm just going to open the door. I want to make sure that when I open this door, these are all panelized. These are all systems that are individually built for the needs and the size of the building. And so we had the condensing unit outside, and then it come in here, and this is the other side of it. It does make moisture, so we do have a condensate pump attached to it. I do have a temperature adjustment here. These are shut down, and it's a vacant building. But when we look at the building, we want to look for the walls, make sure they're connected, make sure the floor is watertight. This is the same floor as in there. Again, this is built for this space, in this space. Now, from the refrigerator, I got the freezer. The freezer is mounted behind this, and again, here's my internal fan system. And so I'm just going to operate it, look at it, make sure the walls are intact. Because this is a kit built, it's very easy to have the walls break apart. When they break apart, they're not going to be functional anymore. So that's why I just want to take a look. And a lot of times, I'll just take my flashlight and look at the four corners, look at the ceiling, look at the walls, and that's really all I'm going to concern myself with on a walk-in refrigerator. I'm not looking at temperature, but there's one other safety thing. What happens if you're in the walk-in refrigerator and there's no latch and you're caught in here? So you always want to make sure there's a handle or a system so that nobody gets trapped inside the walk-in refrigerator. But then when I'm done with this, we'll move on to another section of the kitchen. There's another phrase that they use in commercial buildings, and it's called a service sink. Where we might have a utility sink, a service sink is the broader category of a utility sink. And what the service sink is in this case, it's the mop sink. And the mop sink is located up in the wall here. And that is designed to help you fill the mop bucket, clean the floors, make a general tidy space. You'll notice that on this particular faucet, I do have a vacuum breaker. So that vacuum breaker does act as a backflow preventer. That does help us with our hose and the hose installation, so that we don't have to worry about any cross-contamination. Cross-contamination in a commercial kitchen is horrible. It's the greatest way to make a patron sick. And so that's why we have that. And as we cycle back through here, we do have our dish station. And in our dish station, this is where we get to be greeted with a Type 2 hood. A Type 2 exhaust hood is an exhaust hood that does not ventilate grease-laden materials. So this could be for an oven. This could be for a dishwasher. It's steam, not grease. So on this exhaust hood, again, it's typically stainless steel. It doesn't have to have the same welding configuration as a Type 1 hood. It does not have baffles. It will have a mesh filter. In this particular case, we do not have a filter on this. That's why you'll see some of the debris and some of the other contaminants that might be up there. I will recommend the installation of a filter. We do have, on a commercial dishwasher such as this, a secondary water heater. This is the water heater that gets the water up above 180 degrees. Above 180 degrees will allow a commercial dishwasher like this to operate properly. It operates just like the small dishwasher we saw in the bar. You put your dishes here, they're dirty, you'd use a sprayer. You notice the sprayer is on a spring. Spring to keep the hose always out of the water. This is a rinse station. That means this interior basket can come out to be clean. So I can take my dirty dishes, take the debris off of it. So on this particular case, I've got cold water, I've got hot water. I need to be able to verify that. The water is not on. So then in that particular case, then I have to make a note of that. That water is not on. But I do want to make sure that all sprayers are spring loaded to keep them out of the water. I have another hand washing station with a direct connection, and then I have a triple basin sink. Just like the bar sink that had 4 basins, this triple basin sink does the same thing. The first is always my rinse water. My second is always my wash water, and my third is my sanitizer. When I have the dishwasher, I'm going to take water temperature above 180 degrees. When I have a hand washing station, I'm not going to get 180 degrees. I can't put an employee in 180 degree water. And so with that, I need to have the sanitizer. This is a indirect drain. But what's interesting, when we first look at this sink, something's peculiar. The right side is red. The left side is blue. Well, that's completely backwards of any other plumbing in this building. So I would want to turn this faucet on. And this particular case, I need to make sure that the water temperatures are accurate to this, but I am going to note on my report they are backwards. And so that's something that we do want to make note of. That's a dangerous situation for an employee that might not use this station every day. And then we look through the rest of the spot. I'm looking for mold. I'm looking for damage. We do not have to have a fire suppression system under a Type 2 hood. We do have to have one under a Type 1 hood. But on the Type 2, we just want to note, we don't even have to have lighting underneath it. We just want to note that it's present and operate the fan when operating the rest of the system. This fan comes on at the same motion as the main exhaust system does. Then you'd walk through the rest of the building. The next thing we have is the rest of our electric plants. I have a panel here, here, and here. We do the same thing we've done in all the other panels, is note what they are. This is R2. This one's missing. This is R3, so my guess is this is probably R1. We open them up, look at the general impression on the interior. I think the only remarks that I'm really going to make on these panels on my report is the debris. There's a lot of grease and a lot of other buildup on them, so they're just really not kept as clean. That probably is, maybe they're not running the exhaust every time they're doing prep cooking. Maybe they're not turning the exhaust on until a little later, and that grease wants to go somewhere. So that would be my guess. But I'm just going to note the debris, and we don't have to note causation. So the interior of a commercial kitchen is not unlike the interior of any other space, except for the hoods. That's what we're required to look at. So understand the ComSop before you do any inspections. Have your confidence, know the systems that are present, know the difference between a Type 1 and a Type 2 hood, know the differences between having baffles in a Type 1 and a mesh in a Type 2, a lighting in a Type 1, no lighting in a Type 2, and nozzles and suppression in a Type 1, not in a Type 2. Beyond that, follow the ComSop, do your interiors, go around the whole building, and you'll be successful. Till next time, this is Rob Klaus with the Certified Commercial Property Inspectors Association, the CCPIA.